Hi, I'm Sebastian. I'm one of the Dueling Wizards. Sean, what are we dueling about today?
Well, Sub, today we're going to talk about something that everybody seems to be talking about, which is trans people and bathrooms.
Dun.
I mean, we don't. I'm pretty sure that everybody kind of knows what's up. Everybody knows why it's absurd. Um, and, like, I just hope that we can all agree that it is absurd. Otherwise, you're probably not watching us. But taking it to, like, another level of conversation, I want to talk and potentially duel, but most likely agree about why bathrooms are the chosen place to decide whether you're a trend supporter or not. Like, why is it the bathroom, like, why is this the place?
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to figure out the metaphor. I think about, like, this is a place where you filter through what you've taken in for the day, hopefully, or like the place you have this private interaction with your genitals when you're out of your home, and so it's like this. I get that it's a private moment, but also everyone goes.
Right. I think that it's also something, that everyone can... So if you're human, you have to poop and pee, right? So that's just something that's going to happen, and you're definitely going to have to do it in public at some point. So it's something that's universal, right? But what's not universal is that it's gendered, meaning male and female. And so I think it's this clash of new consciousness where gender is fluid, where a lot of things are fluid, where things aren't so dual, black and white, left, right and wrong, where there's a lot more nuance, right? And you have the old consciousness, which is like here, like male, female. And where these two things are starting to mix is in the bathrooms. And the new consciousness is like, can we just have gender-neutral bathrooms, please? Because I'm having to go into a female bathroom I don't fit into and a male bathroom that I don't fit into, and it's a scary fucking experience.
Yeah.
As a trans person or as a gender non-conforming person, I don't, obviously the argument is about, straight cis people being, under attack or something, like, from trans people, which is obviously really absurd, but if you're coming from a fear consciousness, meaning that you're afraid of everything, this is just one more thing to be afraid of. And of course you're going to be afraid of it because everyone uses the bathrooms. It's not like, if we were to surround this issue with something else, like
Like a cupcake shop.
trans people in cupcake shops. It's like, oh, it doesn't affect me. I don't eat cupcakes.
Right.
But everyone goes to bathroom in public, so everyone's like, oh my god, I too could be, like, subjected to, predatory, energy from a trans person, or, something bad might happen in the bathroom, which, of course, trans people have been using bathrooms since time immemorial. Nothing's ever happened. It's been the opposite, actually. But I think that you're not going to hear that dialogue from a certain side consciousness. You're just going to be afraid, afraid, afraid. Now, something that's really interesting that's come up lately is a business here local to Austin, the Alamo Draft House, has decided to actually make gender-neutral bathrooms, like, in a substantiated way, not just like one single unisex bathroom, but like an entire structure.
Like a free-for-all?
Right?
Just willy-nilly peeing everywhere?
Yeah, you can pee on the floor, you can pee on the walls, you can pee on each other.
Well, that's not really new, but okay.
It's not new, but now it's going to be done in a movie theater. So, yeah, it's, this cis person is sort of being like, I am seeing that this is problematic, and we're going to have these separate little stalls, but everyone can go in and use these separate little stalls. That seems like there might be sinks in each of them and maybe mirrors, and they're going to be very private. And it's like, wow, that's incredible. So now I can go into the bathroom where, Other people can go in the bathrooms that need a sink right by them, and they can use it without feeling like they're going to die or having a panic attack or afraid of being harassed, because everyone belongs in there. There's no one that doesn't belong in there. It's like, wow, we can all get along. We can all be in the same place, and nothing bad's going to happen.
And it's so interesting that that is like a new thing, or like a new development that people are kind of wrapping their minds around, because anyone who's ever been to a gay bar worth its weight in salt has experienced this non-gendered bathroom experience, in the middle of the night, at late, where everyone's drinking, and it's just like normal human behavior. Everyone's in line, and everyone kind of waits, and some people are loud, and some people are quiet, and some people are obnoxious, and some people are fine, and some people are fucked up, and some people are just totally chill. So it's like this sort of pairing has happened. Pairing, it just means two, but more than two. Just like everyone being in this one place to do this thing, or whatever they're doing in there, is like precedented. Like, it's happened, and everyone, for the most part, is okay. And it's just crazy that people are thinking of this as new, or like forming an opinion, which is, I think, the biggest sort of one of the biggest negatives about this whole media storm around trans bathroom usage, is that it's giving everyone who's never known that they've known a trans person or heard of trans or non-binary, genderqueer, this new platform to have an opinion, and they're basing it on information that's completely irrelevant to non-binary, trans, genderqueer people. It's like they're suddenly deciding whether trans people exist or not, which is not what's up for debate. The debate is bathroom usage. So it's this really sneaky way for lawmakers to try to make transness non-existent more than they have before. It's like, by saying you are this or that and you can go here or there, then you're erasing any nuance that you spoke of. So it's just this really unfortunate way of making it not about the bathroom, but actually making it about recognition of an entire people. So it's just like people are suddenly throwing their opinion around, and it's unfortunate because there's always been internet trolls doing this, but now it's sort of like, just getting on my Facebook page, it creates anxiety, because there's always this possibility that someone I know is going to suddenly have an opinion, a very uninformed opinion about trans people that I'm going to have to know about now. That and I understand that everyone's kind of on their own path, and I have certainly been ignorant of many, many things that I've learned over the years, and realized that I've said terrible things and done really terrible things, and now I'm like, okay, I am more aware, so I can not do those things, and so everyone's kind of on their own journey of getting appreciation or respect and acceptance and all that stuff. So
yeah, I don't think there's much dueling today, because obviously I agree with you 100%.
yeah.
on everything you're saying. Again, I like to sort of think about things on like an epic good versus evil level, and I just think this is really about, again, old consciousness, so established, sort of established ideas of what it means to be human, and no one really questions male and female.
Right.
So that's the consciousness that's trying to be suppressed. Like, please do not think outside of the binary. Please do not think that you can exist outside of the box and the rules of the box of man and the rules in the box for women. Please stay inside of those boxes. Because if you start jumping outside of those boxes, that's very empowering. That's true freedom, right?
Yeah. And I think that, like, to just jump in and say something about that paradox, how even, like, or paradigm rather, how even the innocent version, so to speak, of that paradigm exists. And to speak from personal experience, one of my siblings is about to have a baby in a few months, and it'll be the first of the next line of my family, and so everyone's really excited and nervous and projecting wildly all the things. And so they have decided to hold off finding out the assigned gender. And so I even find myself being like, oh my goodness, how could you stand waiting? Like, I really want to know. And as soon as that comes into my, consciousness, I'm like, why? Like, in what direction does that kick off my next projection, which is all it is. It's like, in what way am I going to start classifying this individual? And that's coming from a trans person. I'm like, ooh, what's the gender? And I'm like, oh my, I've been fighting against that exact paradigm for years and years. And so it's so ingrained in me that in my, in this excitement, I'm like, ooh, I want to know. So it just, even as a person myself who feels, like I work on awareness and stuff, I still adhere to the paradigm in some ways that surprise me. So anyhow, this is like changing a consciousness, but that's even in, deep in me.
Yeah, because we've grown up in the society and culture we've been programmed from since the age of 0. I mean, from a very young age, little kids, are you a boy or a girl? That question's coming. So they know that there is a
Yeah.
duality already. They're already establishing themselves in it. They know there's certain behaviors that are okay for this box, certain behaviors that are, okay for. So again, this isn't really about bathrooms. I think the reason why it's become so explosive, maybe, is because it's about bathrooms, something that everybody could relate to. But I think that sort of the reason it's coming about is again, it's a suppression of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
This trans consciousness, consciousness of going outside of the binary is pretty expanded. You wrap your mind around that. What else are you gonna
What
What else
else?
are you gonna wake up to? What
Man.
else are you gonna see that's possible? What else are you going to question?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Because I mean, every person who is having a nuanced experience of gender that is, not prescribed or well recognized by the masses, knows that it is a big. It's definitely got the like Shiva energy. It's like this big, almost destructor to people's paradigm. It's like just by walking into a room, I make people question their lives, and anybody, people don't like change typically, so it's like they'll fight me. I'll be like the target of anger when really it's like, oh, don't make me undo this really well organized schema that I have to look at my life that helps reduce my anxiety. And it's just like, if I come in and I'm like, you knew me as this and now you know me as that, and I'm cool with it, it really makes people question their lives, and people don't want to be questioning their lives. And I think that like I do think there's something about the bathroom that there's a metaphor that I just can't quite um, put my finger on, and it's kind of like thinking back to the paradigm of racial hierarchy, and decades ago with Rosa Parks and sitting in a seat, and that sort of media around that kind of catalyzed movement, right? And so it wasn't about a bus, right? We could look back and say it wasn't about a bus. So what was it about? It was about inequality. It was about absurd, ridiculous inequality that makes no sense on a rational level. But then the metaphor there is that here is this vehicle, literally. And vehicles take someone from point A to point B, and what the society was doing was forcing a group of people to get there last. So there's a metaphor in that, like you're forced. We'll get there first, and you're going to get there last, right? And so that's like the metaphor there. And so I'm like, well, okay, what is the metaphor? And maybe we can't know until later, or maybe someone has thought this through in a way that I'm just like dying to know. But what is the metaphor? Like, what is the bathroom representing? What is it? I'm like dying to know. But
well, it's like really confusing for people. People are like, well, you just go to the bathroom based on your genitalia. Or you or you go to the
That's the same as
or
saying
you
no.
go to
You're
your
just supposed to sit in the back of the butt. It's like what? That doesn't.
you go to the bathroom based on your gender presentation. Wow, so it's like these are all trans people just explode that.
Well, and gay people do too, because it's like why? It's like why? Because there ain't gonna be no sex, and that I shouldn't use that accent. That's very see. I still have definitely some regionist stuff to work through, classes stuff like that is not okay for me to use that when. Yeah, I apologize. That was bad. But basically, it's like okay, women can go in there together because there won't be any sex, and it's like, but then what about lesbians? Like you're actually setting up a really wonderful place for people to, wonderful. But I don't know. It's just like it doesn't make any. It's an old paradigm that like trans people are not kicking off the first discussion about, but definitely are taking the entire spotlight as far as bathroom. And it's like it's like I'll say we, but and it's like we didn't ask for this. This is not a place that like I don't know. I feared going into the bathrooms when I was first transitioning. I wasn't thinking about doing anything to anyone else. I was terrified for my own self. So it's just so weird.
And ironically, I feel still afraid to use bathrooms at a movie theater because everyone goes in there at the same time and all the guys stand in a row.
Yes.
And anytime I have to stand in a row, I feel like really uncomfortable. Because now there gets to be a lot of time where I might be evaluated as the wrong gender and some confrontation might happen, right?
I had the same experience actually when I visited you in Austin, because I was coming from Hawaii and the town I live in, um, androgyny is not at the forefront of the population, and so I'm read as male pretty like without question. And so going to the bathrooms here are like I don't think about it. It's definitely a privileged place. And then when I went to Austin, I went to Alamo with you and we saw Star Wars and I had a panic attack in the bathroom because it was I wasn't thinking about it. I walked in and there was 20 men, cis men with me, and I was like suddenly realized I felt like I was in a dress when I was 11 and I had long curly like forced curly hair and makeup my mom put on me, and I was just like oh my god, and I was like panic, and I think I cut someone in line because I was so out of my mind that I like just needed to get into a stall. I like didn't even I didn't I just lost my ability to really like calmly work through a situation. I just like ran into the stall and whatever, and no one probably thought a thing about me, but I was terrified.
I remember this one time I was coming out of, the Alamo downtown, and again, those bathrooms were really small. And so I was like, fuck, I really have to pee. And we're downtown, so there's not really a great place to pee. So I'm like running, so I'm like, maybe I could pee in that back alley because I need to pee, and I don't feel comfortable, obviously, using the bathrooms. And so I'm like, here I am, like trying to find a place to pee in the back alley behind a dumpster. And now this strange man is like following me and like giving me weird vibes, and now I'm like walking, faster and further and being like, oh, what the fuck am I doing? And eventually ended up all the way down to Corriente, which was like 7 blocks away or
Oh my
something.
gosh.
To use the bathroom because I knew that there were bathrooms there, but like, what?
Yeah, what?
That's not that's not something that Susie will think of. And then
Right.
when I worked at Whole Foods, very similar. Like the public male restroom was pretty small, and so if that was full, like if the 2 stalls were full, I would have to go maybe to the other side of the store to use a single occupancy, and that could be full. And in the back of the store, there's employee bathrooms that could be full because I have to use a stall. I can't use a urinal, right?
Right.
So sometimes I would be gone for more than a half an hour trying to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
And of course, you don't want to leave your coworkers that long. But yeah, it was just like such a task
Right.
just to pee. And I think that I mean, I guess a lot of people maybe don't even know any trans people personally or know them as real people, are just thinking about trans women and just thinking about them as men, and then thinking about them as predatory men in women's bathroom, which is what has been pumped into the airwaves to just create and elicit a lot of fear, which obviously can be farthest.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and perpetuated by these really mainstream movies like Silence of the Lambs, Ace Ventura, and more definitely. But just like this really nasty representation that has not even has it been not been addressed. I mean, there are forums and articles and people who've written about it, but as far as like mainstream addressing, like Hollywood hasn't been like, sorry about that. And even the guy who made, this is a tangent, but even the guy who made Ace Ventura went on to make this really wonderful documentary about, maybe it's called Earthlings or something, but it's how we're all connected. And I was just like waiting with bated breath, wanting him to address that he had made this awful trans misogynistic movie. And then I was just waiting, and then the documentary closed and he didn't do it. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, that's great that you said all that stuff, but you didn't even take responsibility for your absolutely active participation in this perpetuation of a terrible, terrible, incorrect identity.
I mean, I think it might be changing slightly now, but making fun of anybody that's gender non-conforming that looks like androgynous is like really, it's still really acceptable to make jokes along those lines,
Oh,
and
definitely.
famous, well-known comedians, I've seen them make it constantly. Oh,
It's subtle in shows. It's like, ugh.
yep, yeah, and it's everywhere, and you're just like, I mean, I watch a lot of movie previews, and even in a lot of comedies, right?
Yeah.
Every single comedy, there's always a trans misogynistic joke,
Comment, joke, representation. Yeah.
without fail, and I'm always like, this is so normalized, this is so accepted as normal. It's okay to joke and make fun of and to suppress and exploit and oppress, these kind of people. Like, those people are weird, but we can make fun of them.
Right, the othering continues like absolutely rampantly, and it's like I can definitely sit here, we're both white, and I identify as trans male, and I won't speak for your identity, so you can say that if you want, but like the people who are trans women of color, trans men of color, genderqueer people of color, genderqueer people who are white, it's like there's this definitely this sort of experience that even addressing the restroom situation and allowing trans people or gender queer people who operate or express along the given binary is like allowing me to use the men's restroom solves a little bit of the issue, but not the entire issue, which is what about people who don't operate on the binary or are on a part of it that isn't inclusive of their entire identity. So it's just like just letting trans women, trans identified women use the women's restroom and trans men use the men's restroom is not enough. It's like this eradication of that entire system that's happening. Like in these establishments, there was one in Capitol Hill that was like urinals on this side, stalls on this side. We're not even talking about gender. Is definitely like the slow direction of things. It's happening, but with any sort of expression of new civil rights, the resistance rises just as much to try to, put the.
I just didn't think that this would happen and like so quickly. Like, it feels like, just 5 years ago, nobody knew, including my mom, what a trans person was, and now it's like common knowledge / we could have conversations about it. Like, what? That's fucking crazy. Like, why? Like, why? But I think we talked about that a little bit. Is like the most oppressed groups, like that healing needs to be done. So, people of color, trans people, why is there so much, like, there's kind of like a negative spotlight being like, look at all this fucked up shit that's going down, and then this counter energy of like, yeah, you're not even a real human being because you're trans or you're a person of color, but there's also this like healing that's happening if we can look at this in a positive light, because all of this is being brought to the surface and like shining it on all the big mess of it. And then through that, people can, be like, holy shit, I didn't know. Or like, okay, well, what can we do? And then there's people going to be still resisting, but that's okay, because we're still having to move forward.
Yeah.
But like, we didn't even exist. We didn't even exist, like, to the public. Yeah, people didn't even know what the fuck is that. You tell someone you're trans, people are like,
Yeah, I know, I've said that too, and then it's like they didn't hear me or didn't know what it meant, or...
Wait, it's like, even the gay people, like, I am trans, like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So,
at the same time, I've had people, like, people I went to high school with in a small town in South Carolina contact me, a couple of people, actually, and private message me or whatnot, and be like, hey, I just want you to know... Like, we both know where we came from, which was a very, very conservative place, and it's a very small town, that I think has changed a bit since I've been there, but back then it was pretty intense as far as racism, and coming out was not an option in any form. So then, having people contact me and be like, hey, I just want you to know, like, we both know where we came from, and I appreciate you, and, me coming out, and it's kind of like... having a platform to learn from and experience as like a person who was friends with these people in high school, so there's this sort of positive memory, and then me occupying this space of transness, and then those things being able to come together, like positive and now this, and people can grow in that way, and so people are coming forward. It's just it's hard and it's new, and you have to question everything, and I appreciate your always optimistic view that we are constantly going towards growth and that we're actually closer to healing than we ever have been. And
oh yeah, I mean, it's just been like, we have generations of fucked upness. It's all written into our ancestral lineages, coming from all directions all around the world, and everyone's like dealing with all the particularities of that, abuse, and on all different kinds of levels. And so there's a lot of pain in the consciousness of humanity right now that is just really coming to the surface right now. And the reason why it's coming to the surface is so that it can be healed. Now, is it messy and like crazy and like chaotic, and there's a lot of crazy making in it? Yeah, of course. But I also think that there's a lot of healing, there's a lot of consciousness raising, there's a lot of awareness that's happening. And
so maybe that makes me think maybe the metaphor is like I first said, it's a place where the bathroom is a place where we filter through waste and get rid of it. So maybe there's something around like this rigid separation representing all binaries and dichotomies is like getting filtered out. Maybe that's the fucking metaphor for why it's in the bathroom. Yeah. But we should probably wrap up. We could go on for days about this. So thanks, Sub, and anybody who's listening and watching, leave comments below and let us know if you want us to talk about anything particular, or if you have ideas or things about what we said.
Do we have an email address now?
We don't yet, but yeah, leave comments below, and I'll post that email address once we have it. I forgot to do that. It'll be hopefully the Dueling Wizards at gmail.com will hopefully be available. So If not, we might, have to look into something. But anyways, thanks, Seb. Love you as usual.
Love you. You're the best.
We want to give a shout out to the trans, non-binary, and genderqueer artists who helped us out. Our logo graphic is made by Scout. You can contact them at scoutymixscout@gmail.com. The music is by Artemis Glow. Check out her work at theartemisglow.bandcamp.com. You can contact the Dueling Wizards directly by emailing us at theduelingwizards@gmail.com.